Hey guys, welcome to the first video on Team Chrome YGO's channel. My name is ENRG. We have
Zen Shellen Monk.
And also
Arthur.
And today we're going to be doing our deck profiles, just a little bit of an introduction video to the channel and stuff like that. So let's get straight into it right off the bat. I'm going to start with my deck profile. We have Vision Heroes. This is a deck that I'm going to be running at YCS Fort Worth, and then we also have Monk and Arthur running their decks at YCS Fort Worth. And we have all our decks queued up, so we'll go through them all right now. So I'm running Vision Heroes. The reason I chose this deck is because I think that Super Poly being at 3 and having it at the option of being at 3 is really, really strong for this current meta. Super Poly just is such an OP card, in my opinion. And then, of course, the Vision Heroes engine is extremely consistent, and you can usually do all of the plays that you want to do. Even if you go first or second, you have options on both ends. So I think it's just a really consistent, adaptable deck, and it does work pretty well against a lot of the other meta stuff like Thunder Dragons and Orcust. So let's go through the ratios. So I have 3 Vion. He's the main combo starter for the deck. He's an extremely good search target. And he also does search your polymerization now. That's why I do have 1 poly in the main deck. And then I have 3 Forest, pretty mandatory, 3 of for Vision Heroes. You can discard 1 other hero monster and special summon this card from your hand. So he sends stuff to the graveyard, which is good because they can special summon into a continuous trap. And then Forest also can search as well. So very good card. He has an extra deck restriction, but it doesn't matter because they're hero monsters. And then we have 2 Increase. I think this is personally a card that I could bump to 3. I really like Increase. It special summons a level 4 lower monster, Vision Hero monster from the deck, which is really good. And he also does complete a full combo if you want to send him to the graveyard with Forest. I have 1 Witch Raider. It's good back row removal. It nukes the back row. And then it's also a 2700 body. And if I want to run Blacklist or Chaos, the new one that just came out, the Link monster, then I can run him using Witch Raider because of its level. I have 2 Gravito. People don't like this card very much, but I personally love it because it's basically a 1-card Link 2. And also it debricks your back row if you have too much of your Vision Heroes stuck back there. So he can be good as well. More of a card that you don't want to see all the time, but that's kind of why I have him at 2. I have 1 Poisoner. The reason I don't run 2 is because he's searchable by pretty much everything else in the deck. And he is really only used when you're going for the Trinity OTK. So I think Poisoner can be good just for that 1 scenario, and he's searchable when you need him. I have 3 Shadow Mist. That's just because I would regularly run 2, just because I only run 2 Mass Change and 2 Dark Claw, and then 1 Anki. But the reason I'm running 3 is because he has a search effect as well, which is good. He's a searchable monster, and I do want to see him on the first turn very commonly, just because of Dark Claw. So I think he's really good at 3. 2 Stratos. That's really doesn't need much explanation. One of the best cards currently. I'd easily bump him to 3 if he was able to be played at 3, and he should be played at 3. I have 2 Solid Soldier, a pretty nice card. I don't think this is underrated. I think a lot of people know about how powerful this card is, and it's an extra special summon. The reason I have a 2 instead of 3 is because you can brick with just 2 Solid Soldiers, and then you don't have anything to go into with your fusions. Then for my hand traps that I run 2 Ash and 1 Ghost Spell. The reason I run 1 Ghost Spell instead of 3 Ash is because a lot of decks are graveyard based in this current meta, so Ghost Spell can work well, very, very, very well against those decks. Then I have 1 Minimum Array. I like him just because it's a searchable monster removal. It's level 4 or lower only, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't have a restriction on special summons or normal summoned monsters, so I think he can be really good in that scenario. And because he's searchable, he basically works sort of like a Nightmare Cerberus does, where you can kind of just get him out anytime you want and get a removal on the field. 2 Super Poly, 1 Poly. The reason I have the 1 Poly is because of Vion, like I said. And then Super Poly, of course, really, really good card. I have an extra one in my side deck. And then I have 2 Mass Change. I don't run 3 because it's searchable. I have 2 Emergency Call. It's generic Elemental Hero Search. It starts your combos with Shadow Mist and Stratos and Solid Soldier. And then I have 1 Foolish Burial, 1 card combo starter. Rhoda, generic search, 1 Dark Hole for monster removal. The reason I don't run Raigeki is because Dark Hole can also dump some of your stuff to the graveyard for more combos. And then I have 2 Called by the Grave. I could run 3. The reason I run 2 is because Ash is a problem, but it's not something that you always will see every single game that you play. Then I have 2 Twin Twisters. This dumps a card, and it also destroys spell and traps, which is good. Then I have 1 Allure for the generic draw power of the deck, just 1. I have another one in the extra deck, or sorry, the side deck if I need to bump the ratio up. And I have 1 Witch's Strike and 1 Dark Sacrifice. So Dark Sacrifice, he is a better card than Apparition. Apparition's another one that people like to run for Vision Heroes, but I like Dark Sacrifice better because it negates, and then it also dumps to the graveyard so you can get off their actual Vision Hero effects, unlike Apparition, which is special summon, so you don't get the effect off. And then Witch's Strike is a really good card against stuff like Solemn Judgment, if anybody's running that in this current meta. And then I think Witch's Strike in general is just a really strong card. It could basically win you in the entire game if it does actually resolve. So I think it's a great card. And then side deck, a lot of just generic stuff, Lancias, some extra stuff to bump the ratios around if I need to. Red Reboot, in case random Altergeist players, and it's also good against Thunder Dragons. And then under called Regeki, extra stuff for the Witch Raider and the Gravito ratios if I want to mess around with that. I have one Hero Lives. I don't think this card is that great. Increase does the same thing except better, and it doesn't cost you life points. And then I have one No Material, generic good card. For the extra deck, I have two Dread Decimators and 2 Wonder Drivers. Wonder Driver is a super powerful card, and Gravito basically makes you a one card, a Wonder Driver, which is really good. And then Dread Decimator is just a fairly good Link 3 if you want to Link Climb into Borreload Dragon, which is the Link 4 for this deck. I could run Boral Sword, but Borreload is cheaper, and it's not really justifiable to spend that much just on Boral Sword. I have one Salamangreat Almirage, generic Link 1, probably the best generic Link 1 in this current meta, and there's a lot of different Vision Heroes that can make them, like Increase and Gravito. And then I have one Nightmare Phoenix and one Nightmare Cerberus. I don't run Nightmare Unicorn because it's not necessary for this deck. I'd rather just have the 2 removal ones, and they're both Link 2s, which is good as well. And then I have run 2 Trinity for the OTK. One is kind of not that great in case it gets destroyed and you want to still run the Trinity OTK, so 2 is fine. Adoration is the good card when you don't have like a specific card that you can create. Adoration, it just kind of goes out there, has a decent effect, and does a lot of damage as well. 2800 is a nice little attack stat for a monster in this current meta. And then Starving Venom is also a really great card. It's one of your best super poly targets, especially against Thunder Dragons. Anki, just generically a good card as well for the Masked Hero side of your resources. So if you have like Vision Hero stuff, you can make Adoration, but if you have Masked Hero stuff, you can make Anki. And then I have 2 Dark Law. That's basically your go-to first turn play if you have like a Shadow Mist and stuff like that. And yeah, that is going to be it for my deck profile. And so next we'll move on to Monk.
Hey, yo, what's up? It's your boy Monk back at it again with Fortnite gameplay.
Say all
sad.
No, it's just funny. Hey guys, Monk here. Starting off with my Cyber Dragon deck profile. Start off with the channel. We're just gonna start with the deck profile right away. We start with 3 Ash. I was considering running 2 Veiler and 2 Ghost Ogre, but I'm not the biggest fan of hand traps, so I just feel like playing the 3 Ash is fine. We have 2 Levian Air, just combo extenders for summoning out any of your Cyber Dragons. We have 3 Cyber Dragons, no need to explain for that. Cyber Dragon Core, which is the best normal summon in the deck. Basically, just use it to search off your Cyber Emergency or your Cyber Low Fusion. Next, we have 1 copy of Dry. I'm not the biggest fan of Dry, but I feel like just having him in here would just in case you need to make a start off into a Nova. All right, next we have Cyber Dragon Hers. Basically, just to set him in the graveyard and then crap out your Cyber Dragon. Next, we have 3 copies of the best Cyber Dragon card ever released. No need to explain. Special Summon any machine was 2100 from attack or defense points. Next, we have 1 copy of Vier. Vier's he's alright to play at 1. I wouldn't recommend playing any more than that. Next, we have Galaxy Soldier. Just great for summoning. You're gonna have a hard time editing this. Next, we have Galaxy Soldier. Galaxy Soldier, he's just to summon out Nova and then exceed into infinity. I feel like you can run him at 3, but 2 feels like the more appropriate ratio, in my opinion. How do you pronounce this guy's name? So we have 1 copy of Jizukiro, just to get rid of any problematic monsters that your opponent may have. Next, we have 3 called. Pretty important for the deck because you can survive getting hand trapped once, but after 2, you're not going to be doing too well. Next, 3 Cyber Emergency, Rhoda for the deck basically, and even if they Ash it, you can just bring it back using an effect and just bring it back. 2 copies of Cyber Repair Plant, pretty normal, searching for a light machine, which you can search for with the other cards in the deck, including Jizukiro and Galaxy Soldier. Cyber Rev System, Monster Reborn for the deck, but adds protection. so that they can't be destroyed by card effects. Next, Cyberload Fusion, target for Cyber Twin Dragon. 1 Foolish Burial, just to send either your hers or core in the graveyard in case you brick. 3 Machine Duplication, which is best card in your deck. As soon as you activate this and pull it off, you basically won the game. 1 Overload Fusion to summon out Rampage Dragon, who can OTK pretty easily in the deck. 2 Super Polymerizations. I know this card's at 3, but the third copy might be in my extra deck, or side deck, sorry, just for consistency, but all you need is 2 just so you can summon out the Starving Venom, since Dark is the most oppressive attribute in this meta right now. And then lastly, we're going to end with 1 Cybernetic Overflow. Don't need to play more than 1, it's just there to destroy anything that you have after you set up your graveyard. We're going to look back on these videos and think,
well, we will until they're edited.
Starting off the extra deck, we have 2 Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, basically the summon out, or to get rid of any problematic machines, mostly Orcus. Next, we have 3 Mega Fleets, best fusion card in the deck. If in case you're getting extra linked or your opponent has a extra link or not an extra deck monster that they have on the field, you can just get rid of it easily. Can't do anything about it. I already went over Rampage, Cyber Twin, and Starving Venom, so we're gonna go on with Infinity and Nova. 2 is appropriate. No real reason to play any more than that. The Borload, just I couldn't think of anything else, and I just felt like, why not? He's in structure deck Revolver, so couldn't think of anything else, and it's a strong card, so not a big deal. Next, we have 1 copy of Seeger. Seeger basically being the link monster that your go-to link monster. And then we have 1 Link Karibo that you can use to summon off of either Naxter or hers. Link Karibo, just generic link 1 that helps protect you.
But by the way, I've faced this deck many times, and Link Karibo is one of the most oppressive cards in his deck. Yeah, it just demolishes you every time he gets it out. It's super annoying, but it's a really good card in the deck.
Alright, and that concludes my deck profile.
You're right, you don't know how to start it off. Wait, you think you're ready, and then as soon as it's like recorded, you're like,
exactly.
What do I say? What's up, boy? It's Ninja here, back with some more Fortnite gameplay. I just don't want to be yelling at them.
I can already tell people are gonna hate you. Just that, I'm just kidding, it's fine.
Are you retarded? Just kidding, guys, it's Arthros here. Here's my deck profile for the deck I'm going to be using for the next YCS event. Starting off, we're running 3 Ash Blossoms because it's kind of a mandatory 3 of for pretty much every deck. Next is Night Express Knight. This can be normal summoned easily for 0 attack, which lets us get a bunch of combos, which I want to cover later. Another thing is Heavy Freight Train Durricane. Same thing, except it only gets its attack halved. Also, once per turn, when it's in an XE monster, I could use it. I can detach it and destroy 1. I can target 1 card my opponent controls and destroy it, which really helps for clearing the back row. Another one is Bullet Train. This one is whenever I've used a card like Night Express Knight or Heavy Freight Train Durricane, I can then special summon him as well, which really helps get the cards out on my field for the Xyz. Then I have Flying Pegasus Railroad Stampede, one of my favorite cards in the deck. Whenever he's out in the field, I can target 1 Earth Machine monster in the graveyard, and then I can special summon it with its effects negated, which once again just helps me get monsters out in the field. And I could really get this card out easily with effects from cards like Special Schedule, Urgent Schedule, and Revolving Switchyard. Another thing is Trolley Ollie. Probably the weakest monster in the deck, but I needed more monsters that were level 4 and Earth Machine types with 1800 attack. Another one is Ruffian Railcar, basically just the better version of Trolley Ollie. When this card is in my graveyard, it can be used. I can add 1 level 10 Earth Machine monster from my deck, and it also is a level 4, so it can summon itself out easily. So Revolving Switchyard is the field spell for this. It has 2 effects, but I can only activate 1 of them. The first one is I can special summon one level 4 Earth Machine monster with 1800 or more attack, and if I do, it becomes level 10. And so I can do two things with this. The first thing I can do is I can special summon a level 4, which I have plenty of those. And what that does is it then becomes level 10, which can be used for Xyz. And the other thing I can do is I can take a card from my hand, send it to the graveyard, and then I can add a level 10 from my deck, which helps with a lot of that. And that helps with getting my combo started to get to the Xyz. Terraforming to help get to Revolving Switchyard. Upstart Goblin to help make the deck slightly more consistent. As you can tell, this is an OTK deck, so Called by the Grave is really necessary in order to help protect my combos. Twin Twister, 3 of those, is to help make sure their backline is gone. Urgent Schedule is one of them. If I'm when I go second and I'm in a very bad situation, I can use Urgent Schedule to help me special summon monsters out. The only problem with this card is I can't declare any attacks against my opponent, which obviously hurts in an OTK deck, but if that's what I have to do, I do have an out. 3 Pot of Extravagance. This is to help with the draw power. This can obviously go bad if I draw into another Pot of Extravagance or I draw into Upstart Goblin, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. And I also have a bunch of 3-ofs in my extra deck in order to help mitigate the effects of having to banish 3 to 6 random cards. I also have Special Schedule here, which allows me to target one machine monster with 3,000 more attack, and then so it lets me special summon one monster with 300 or more attack in defense position, which obviously helps with my Xyz that I need to get off. And then if this card itself gets destroyed, I can target one level 10 machine monster in my graveyard and add it to my hand, which my target for that would probably be Bullet Train to help, because it can just be summoned right back out. Last but not least is Barrage Blast. I usually don't like traps because they're very slow and they clog up the back row. But what this does is it lets me get rid of a bunch of material off of my cards if I need to in an emergency, and just clear out a bunch of crap that the opponent has on the field. Obviously, this would mean that I'm not in a very good situation because I'd have to draw into this, set it, play it the next turn, and then I could help clear it out. But it's the main thing that I have in this deck to help regain momentum if something bad happens. Now for the extra deck, I have 1 heavy armored Train Wolf, 2 level 4 machine monsters. Obviously for my level 4s, my goal is to get them to level 10s, but if I'm in a bad situation, I can use this to get it out, and I can also use this to help get add a level 4 machine, so I could go into Stampede, which I can then get another person out through that. Let's go from there to help rank up. So for this, a level 10, pretty easy to get level 10s out. I can attach 1 Xyz material to inflict 2,000 damage, but you never would really stop at Rail Cannon unless your opponent has less than 2,000 attack, which if you did your OTK right, that would never happen. But what you really want to do here is once you get that card out, is you want to use the effect of Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Lieb, because what that does is I could use a rank 10 machine monster Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max, go straight into him. Then what I can do is I also get to take the materials from the old monster. What I do is I can attach 1. It gains 2,000 attack, which brings them up to a 6,000 beater, and then I can attack the number of Xyz materials that I have, which would be 3. And if I go to 1,000, that'd be 2. So it could attack twice, which would be very nice for helping clear. Another thing I have is Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Super Dura. What this does, I can do this instead of Gustav Max, and what I can do with that is I can get rid of 1 detach, and I can target 1 face-up monster on the field, and it gets rid of unaffected card effects, except its own, till the end of the turn. What this does is it gives me a little bit of flexibility, so if I think they've got a really strong back row, I can't really do anything about it, I could go into Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Super Dora in order to have a more safe attack thing, but obviously the problem with that is it's going to be much harder to OTK. Next I have a Super Dimensional Robot Galaxy Destroyer. What this does is it'll really allows me to just another way to nuke the field if I absolutely need to and I'm pushed into a corner. 5,000 attack's nice. The only problem is I do need 3 level 10s, and there's no way to jump quickly like I can with Super Dreadnought, Rail Cannon, Juggernaut, Lieb. And last but not least is Double-Headed Anger Knuckle. What this does is it just helps me special summon level 10 monsters out, and it lets me to keep my material out in the field. It's basically just a much safer way to play the deck if I feel like I need to, but I would prefer just to jump into Gustav Max, straight into Rail Cannon, Juggernaut, Lieb, and OTK from there. But it doesn't always go the way you plan. So guys, that concludes my deck profile. If you have any suggestions, leave it in the comments. I could really appreciate it. As you see, I have no side deck.